So the weird science experiments needed specimens. That's why they took you.
In a manner of speaking, yes. The Institute endeavored to create synthetic organics. The most logical starting point, of course, was human DNA. Plenty of that was available, of course. But it had all become corrupted. In this wasteland, radiation affected everyone. Even in their attempts to shield themselves from the world above, members of the Institute had been exposed. Another source was necessary. But then the Institute found me after discovering records from Vault 111. An infant, frozen in time, protected from the radiation-induced mutations that had crept into every other human cell in the Commonwealth. I was exactly what they needed. And so it was my DNA that became the basis of the synthetic organics used to create every human-like synth you see today. I am their father. Through science, we are family. The synths, me, and you.
Sean. It's really you.
It really is. I know you must have questions. Please. Anything I can do to help you understand.
Your mother. She never got to see you grow up.
What happened to her was... I've gone over the records of the incident, of course. It seems her death was an unfortunate bit of collateral damage.
Collateral damage? Is that all she was to you?
I forget that it's been such a short time for you. I don't have any direct memories. And I've had my entire life to cope with the loss. Has it always been easy? Of course not. But I've done my best to move on and live my life. For many years, I never questioned who my parents were. I accepted my situation, and that was that. With old age comes regret. And asking what if more often. But what matters now is that you and I have a chance to begin again. What else can I say to ease your mind?
Kellogg. He worked for you?
Kellogg. He was an Institute asset long before I arrived here. It wasn't until I became director that I learned of all the things he'd done. What kind of man he was.
After what I've seen, I pity the man. He was as much a victim as anything.
After what he did to you, I'm shocked you would be so generous. But yes, I understand you've experienced things. Perhaps you ended up knowing him better. I, for one, will never truly forgive him. The Institute took advantage of Kellogg's vicious nature. I will freely admit that. Institute technology prolonged his life, and his usefulness far beyond any normal human lifespan. He never failed the Institute, but his cruelty became more apparent with every completed objective. I won't lie. It's no coincidence your path crossed his. It seemed a fitting way to allow you, us, to have some amount of revenge. What else can I say to ease your mind?
So you're in charge of the Institute?
I am the acting director, yes. I spent decades working to reach this point. It's a responsibility I take very seriously. The Institute. It's important. It really is humanity's best hope for the future, no matter what those above ground might think of us.
It doesn't matter what they think. What matters is what you do.
I'm glad we see it the same way. Ultimately, the Commonwealth has nothing to fear from us. Whatever you've seen or heard, I know I can convince you of that. Just give me time. I know there's more for us to discuss. But the Institute is on the verge of some important breakthroughs. Your presence would be appreciated as we approach them. I've been a part of something amazing here. I've helped to build a life for myself and the people of the Institute. And now, after all these years, you have an opportunity to help with that. Doesn't that intrigue you? Isn't that what you want?
Yes, that's what I want.
I know. I know you've been through so much. I'm pleased to see it has not impaired your judgment. Forgive me. I'd assumed that after everything I'm sure you've seen above ground, you would be more than a bit biased against us. There is much to be done. You'll need time to acclimate yourself, a chance to become acquainted with our procedures.
I'll do whatever it takes. It's worth it.
I am glad to hear that. The Institute is now your home as much as it is mine. Please take some time, get to know it. Meet the people you'll be working with. You'll want to introduce yourself to the division heads. Dr. Fillmore in Facilities, Dr. Ayo in SRB, Dr. Holdren in Bioscience, and finally Dr. Lee in Systems. They've all been notified of your arrival, of course. Meet them, and then we'll discuss what comes next.
Sean, about this synth.
You mean the child? It's a fascinating project, really. There are issues to be solved, of course, but we've made remarkable progress.
He's definitely impressive.
Yes, it's pushed our technology to the limit. We've gained some valuable insights in terms of both hardware and software. I'll make sure it's brought back online in the near future. You'll have an opportunity to interact with him further. But I'll admit I'm curious. As a parent looking for a child, looking for the younger version of me, what do you think? Do you think you could love him? Like you would a real boy?
I don't need a synth. I found the real Sean.
Yes, but not the Sean you were looking for. In some ways, the synth is far closer to what you expected. I wouldn't claim to know everything you're feeling, but if in some small way the boy's presence can help, I hope you'll keep an open mind.
Almost done. Just need to tighten up this primary drive servo.
Hey, Doc.
That's the third primary drive breakdown this month. As far as I'm concerned, the phase-out on these older models can't come soon enough.
Oh, I don't
They
know.
weren't kidding.
Most
They really
of them have
are
lasted
here.
long past
Well,
their
all
projected
right.
lifespans.
I'm Allie.
If you ask
Allie
me,
Fillmore.
they were built
You can think
pretty
of me
well.
as the Institute's chief engineer. When Father told us about you, I could hardly believe it. You've been through so much, I think most people would have just given up. If you don't mind my asking, what was it that kept you going all that time?
I just wanted to find my son and keep him safe.
Now that you've found him, I hope you're proud of the great man he grew up to be. Now, I'll give you a quick rundown of the Facilities Division, and then I'll answer any questions you might have afterward. As you might guess, we keep the Institute's mechanical and electrical systems running smoothly. We maintain and upgrade all of the systems that make it possible to live and work in a place like this. There's a lot of machinery behind these walls that recycles the air and water and provides power to the laboratories and quarters. The work we do might not be as exciting as some of the other departments, but it's at least as important. So, now that you're here and you've spoken to Father, does that mean you're on board?
Absolutely.
Oh, good to hear. It'll be a load off Sean's mind. Take your time. Get yourself acquainted. There's a lot to take in. Plenty of things you won't find topside. If there's anything else you'd like to know about the Facilities Division, I'm happy to discuss it.
It must be a challenge to meet the power demands of a place like this.
Absolutely. We scratch and scrape for every precious ounce of voltage that we can. Over the years, we've learned a few tricks that help supplement our power budget. When necessary, we can tap into select sources on the surface. We take only what we need, of course. Fortunately, Advanced Systems is always working on new solutions to generate more energy. It's a good thing, too, because the demand is always increasing. You don't even want to know what a single use of the molecular dematerializer consumes. I can't argue with that. Even so, I'm ready to see the full Gen 3 roll out.
There we go. All set. Unit, you can return to duty.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks again.
Of course.
Authorized personnel only.
So Dr. Ayo thinks he can hide in his office, does he?
Hi.
Well, you can tell him
Welcome
that
to the
I
Institute,
intend
sir.
to speak to Father about these unannounced security sweeps of yours. Ransacking
Scanning
my quarters
unknown
in the middle of
identity.
the night is totally
Clearance
unacceptable.
confirmed.
I'll pass along your message, Doctor.
See that you do.
You're here. Glad you made it.
Seriously thinking of heading over to robotics to knock some heads together.
What now?
Power armor
Dragging
is sturdy
their feet
enough,
on the
but
targeting
it limits
package
your
upgrades I asked
mobility.
for. Maybe I should take some courses with me. Send a message.
Please don't. There's enough friction as it is between
Report
us.
anything
and pretty much
suspicious
all
to the
other
SRB.
departments.
You going soft on me, Alana? My methods get results, and they
All
will
this
time
must
as
be a
well.
little overwhelming for
You'll
you.
see.
Be careful wearing that. You might be mistaken for a Brotherhood of Steel soldier.
Father's a great man. You must be very proud.
If you see any suspicious synth activity, report it immediately.
Like any machine, a synth can malfunction. Just wish it didn't happen so often.
We're all looking forward to working with you.
It's an honor to meet you, sir.
Mankind redefined. It's catchy, isn't it?
Scanning. Subject identified.
All systems nominal.
Remember to keep unnecessary power consumption to a minimum. Don't recharge unless your primary levels are below 2%. Also, if you haven't patched your navigation software, do so after this meeting. The last thing we need is more synths bumping into walls. All right, that's all for now. You can resume your duties. It's a real juggling act, trying to keep all the systems down here operating in the green. This place might look shiny and new, but there's a lot of old technology in these walls. I lose sleep worrying about when the next blackout's gonna hit.
Looks like everything's running great. I'd say you're doing your job.
Hey, thanks. It's nice to be appreciated. Most people just take my work for granted. It's the kind of work that only gets noticed when something goes wrong, if you know what I mean. There's some stuff I need to check on. See you around, yeah?
Good day.
Power armor, huh? You take down a Brotherhood soldier?
If it were just a limb twitching, but her eyes were moving as well. Involuntary twitching and rapid eye movement while sleeping can only mean one thing. You just don't want to admit to yourself what it is.
If you're about to launch into one of your speaking about artificial systems and machines with souls, don't bother. I've heard enough of them. Write them down for a minute.
But we can't just ignore the question. For the safety of everyone, why can't it have a soul? And if a synth has a soul, then it is a living person by every standard we can measure. Of course it is far more comfortable to think of them as machines, so we can do what we want with them.
If you disapprove of the work we do here, you know what you're trying to tell me.
Just a moment. I never said that. I'm simply trying to open everyone's eyes to new possibilities.
Well, it's an unwanted distraction. We're men of science, not philosophers. You do well to remember that.
Welcome. Please proceed directly to processing.
I tend to think of robotics as the first among equals.
Dr. Watson can be a little obsessive when it comes to rules and policies.
We're quite fortunate to have the Synths aid us.
Father's work has been a real inspiration for me.
With our third generation Synths, we've improved our guard.
Proceed directly.
Power armor? What would you need that for?
Hi there.
Remember to practice good sanitation habits at all times.
Gotta find the terminal. Got it. Got it.
Have you had time to examine my latest reports on Batch 274?
Not yet. I've been reviewing Father's plans to expand our operations at Warwick. He's eager to get that going, so I've had to put everything else to one side.
I wonder how the Warwick family is doing.
Dr. Holdren's Synth Gorilla project is showing promising results.
I try not to think too much about it. We have more than enough occupy ourselves here. Those people are...
Yes. Yes.
weapons cold. We have a situation.
That's it. There we go. There we go. Nice. Sweet.
Excuse me.
synth generation is just amazing. Those guys in robotics are Yes, Dr. Wolfram. It's Tim. Good man. Good man. The compliment is quite unnecessary, Dr. Wolfram.
Hi, Doc.
Welcome. So good to have you here. Dr. Clayton Holdren, head of the Bioscience Division. I can't wait for you to see the work we're doing. It's truly amazing.
I look forward to learning more about it.
In that case, let me give you a brief overview of what we do here. As the name implies, the Bioscience Division specializes in fields of study such as botany, genetics, and medicine. Our most important directive is to ensure the health and well-being of everyone in the Institute. To that end, we cultivate highly specialized breeds of flora for use in food and medicine. We've even started to explore the idea of synthetic animal life. You probably saw the gorillas. They're really just a pet project at this point, but the potential is exciting nonetheless.
Seems like there's nothing you guys can't do.
With hard work and ingenuity, any challenge can be overcome. I'm sure I've taken up enough of your time as it is, but I have to ask, have you decided whether you'll join us?
I'm not sure how well I'll fit in, but I'd like to give it a try.
Great. I was hoping you'd say that. In any case, I imagine you'll want to continue looking around. Or, if you prefer, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
You mentioned medical care. I might need that from time to time.
In that case, you'll want to introduce yourself to Dr. Dean Volkert. He's our top biologist and also serves as the Institute's resident physician. Dr. Volkert works in the infirmary. Just, you won't find better...
Dr. Holdren.
Something I can do for you?
You mentioned medical care. I might need that from...
In that case, he's our top biologist, and Dr. Volkert works...
Right.
Good to see you again. Did you need something?
Tell me more about those synth...
Say they were a success. Their behavior does generally match what our historical data says it should be. Unfortunately, we had a few early setbacks. The creatures can become suddenly aggressive, and they're quite strong. They destroyed 2 of their synth handlers. So now we keep them in an isolated habitat where they can be safely observed.
I'm sorry, but I'm too preoccupied for chit-chat.
Subject identified.
Excuse me.
Rumor is, Advanced Systems will be starting a new dark matter initiative soon.
She's been at it for over 2 hours. What is she even testing?
Nothing. At this point, she's just...
Excuse me, Doctor?
Ah, it's you. You're here then. Yes, I know who you are. We all do. While I'm sure Father is very happy that you're here, I do hope it doesn't interrupt our work.
Don't worry. I promise I won't get in your way.
Thank you, I do appreciate that. Oh, before I forget, let me see that Pip-Boy of yours. I've been told to install a Courser chip in it for you. Father's orders. You're to be given full access, with the ability to relay in and out of the Institute at will.
Thank you. I'm sure that'll come in handy.
Given that the relay is the only way to access the Institute, handy is something of an understatement. In case the significance is lost on you, you'll be the only one here with that kind of access. If nothing else, it should demonstrate the amount of trust Father has placed in you. Now, unless there's something else, I really do need to get back to work.
I'd like a progress report on your division, if you don't mind.
Taking your new appointment in stride, I see. Very well. We've shifted resources off of other projects, like the Child Synth, to focus on Phase 3. I'm hoping that the above-ground efforts are successful. I understand those depend heavily on you.
Dr. Lee. I'm good for now. Thanks.
All right.
When are you going to tell me about this?
No one can't talk about
that. Nothing to report, sir.
Theoretical limits are made to be broken.
I heard we lost another Gen 3. Dr. Ayo was furious.
Excuse me, Doctor.
So, here you are. Justin Ayo, Acting Director of the Synth Retention. I'll be upfront with you. Despite your relation to Father, you're a bit of an unknown quantity. I'm sure you understand. There won't be any issues, will there?
No problems here.
Good to hear. Now, Father has asked that I provide you with a brief overview of the Synth Retention Bureau. Our primary responsibility is the recovery of escaped synths that are hiding among the human population on the surface.
Why would synths want to escape?
Synths do not want. They might look like human beings, but they're machines. As to why they're escaping? That matter is currently under investigation. Our main instrument is the Courser, a third-generation synth assigned to operate on the surface. Coursers hunt down and reclaim synths that have escaped the Institute. They are highly self-sufficient, trained in combat, infiltration, and tracking. In a word, our Coursers are relentless. But I gather you know all this, since you've encountered one already. In fact, I'd very much like to know how you defeated it.
I'm no stranger to combat.
Even so, a Courser should be more than a match for any single combatant. I suppose I'll have to ask robotics to perform detailed diagnostics on the entire production run. As if we don't have enough problems. Now, unless you need something else, I'll get back to work.
I'm good for now, thanks.
Very well.
Don't much care for good
Hey,
neighbors.
Codsworth.
Shall I accompany you, sir?
Yes, of course.
As you wish, sir.
Farm's not much.
Here's that holotape you gave
But
me.
it's something.
Full of Institute data. I hope.
Well, all right. I'll start digging into this and see if I can make heads or tails of it.
The Institute isn't our enemy, remember?
I know, but it never hurts to be prepared. Just in case they decide the Commonwealth isn't big enough for the both of us. All the good stuff on here is going to be encrypted. So the first job is to see if I can crack it. After that, well, I'll have to see what I've got. There's no telling what we might have grabbed off their mainframe.
Need to get back to Diamond City one of these days.
Everything
Biggest town I ever saw.